Maya Carter heard her name echo through the large auditorium, sharp against the floodlights overhead. She stepped onto the stage expecting, hoping, to see her family somewhere in the sea of faces. 8 seats labeled with her last name sat in the reserved family section, untouched. No wave, no smile, not even a shadow shifting in acknowledgement. Just 8 empty chairs staring back at her, while every other family erupted with pride. She allowed a tiny laugh to escape, the kind born from disappointment too familiar to sting. Then she kept walking. 8 months later, everything changed the day her $5 million penthouse hit the news. That headline triggered the first message from her family since graduation. Family dinner, 6 p.m. important discussion. Maya showed up, but not in the way they expected. For as long as she could remember, she had been trained, subtly, persistently, to make herself smaller in her own home. No one said it directly. They didn't have to. The rules of that house had been carved deep long before she understood how families worked. Her older sister, Lila, was the star. Her younger brother, Sam, was a protected one. And Maya? She became the dependable filler, the one who stepped in whenever someone else stepped out. The pattern had started early. She remembered the morning Lila forgot her science project, bursting into tears at the door. Their mother panicked. Without hesitation, Maya offered Lila her own carefully built project. Lila won second place. No one asked why Maya turned nothing in. Her mother simply smiled and said, "Maya always figures things out," as if praise could conveniently replace recognition. Years later, when Maya finally saved enough to buy drafting tools for her architectural dreams, her father asked to borrow the money for a bill Lila had forgotten to pay. "You're responsible," he said, already pocketing it. He added, "Your sister has a good heart. She just needs time," as if requiring Maya to delay her life was natural. Maya nodded because nodding was easier than arguing. Even birthdays followed the same quiet script. Once, Maya baked a homemade chocolate cake, her mother's favorite. Lila arrived late, carrying store-bought cookies. Their mother kissed her cheek and exclaimed, "You always think of the sweetest things." Maya held the cake server, realizing she had been erased without anyone noticing. But the memory that anchored everything came years later, in the freezing studio apartment she could barely afford, where the heat barely worked. Wrapped in 2 jackets, Maya hunched over her chip desk, revising a floor plan for a duplex she dreamed of renovating. Bills cluttered the table. Deadlines flashed on her phone. She called her father, not for money, just advice, just to hear something steady. He answered sharply, "Real estate is for men who understand numbers. Maya, try something safer." Then he hung up. That night, the stitching on her black portfolio tore open. She didn't throw it away. She sat beneath her dim lamp and sewed it by hand, the needle trembling. That portfolio became the only constant she trusted. Then came graduation. Her name echoed across a stadium full of applause. She turned toward the family section. 8 chairs marked Carter. All were empty. They hadn't forgotten. They had chosen not to come. That was the day Maya understood exactly where she stood in her family's hierarchy. The months that followed passed quietly, cleanly. No calls, no check-ins, no congratulations. She worked, saved, took every deal she could reach, and told them nothing. Silence became safer than offering something they could discard again. One afternoon, while sitting in her old Honda outside a construction site, she opened an unexpected article. Local developer turns $5 to penthouse. The headline read. Her name sat boldly beneath it, paired with a photo of the building she had rebuilt inch by inch. Numbers, projections, timelines, all laid out in precise detail. More messages followed, more congratulations, none from her family. She set her phone face down and stared through the windshield at the cloud-thick sky. Pride didn't surface. Relief didn't either. Just stillness. Then her phone buzzed again. This time, the name on the screen was familiar. Too familiar. Her father. The message carried no greeting. Family dinner. 6 p.m. important discussion. Don't be late. She held the phone, feeling the weight of 8 silent months pressing through the glass. This wasn't a reunion. This was business wrapped as family. She inhaled deeply, steadying her breath in the practiced way she'd learned long ago. Then she typed the only response he deserved. "I'll be there." She restarted the car, watching streetlights flicker as dusk settled over the city. The message stayed glowing on her screen long after the engine quieted. Another notification rolled in. Another article, another congratulations. The world finally had something to say. So did her family. Suddenly. But Maya didn't drive home yet. Instead, she pulled into the lot behind her office. No one from her family had ever visited that place. Seattle's sky had dipped into its familiar bluish-gray hush. Maya locked the car, climbed the stairs, and slipped inside the building. The fluorescent lights hummed in the space that had become her sanctuary. She placed her black portfolio on the desk, the same one she'd stitched years ago. The seam remained crooked in one corner, a small reminder of survival. She opened it, paper brushing gently against paper. Contracts, valuations, spreadsheets, each one a piece of the life she built alone. Not one document owed anything to her family. She didn't feel anger. She didn't feel triumph. She felt precise. She powered on her laptop, the soft fan filling the room. Numbers steadied her, clean, quiet, obedient. She moved through tasks like a heartbeat. Email, spreadsheet, signed, filed, archived. At 6:42 p.m., she walked to the window. Across the street, another building glowed in a warm amber grid. Her reflection stared back. Tired eyes, hair pulled neatly, blazer creased from work. A face that had earned every inch of the penthouse mentioned in the article. Her phone She watched again. Herself breathe for once. A firm downtown wanted to congratulate her. She ignored it. 10 seconds later, a reporter asking for a quote. More messages followed, her phone rattling across the desk. She flipped it over and silenced it. Peace returned. The world's noise didn't matter. Her plan did. She pulled out the acquisition file she had finalized that morning. A commercial plaza she had spent 4 months negotiating. Dozens of inspections, late-night calls, site visits. It was the most significant purchase she had ever made, and she knew whispers around the city claimed the property was coveted by many. She didn't know officially that her father and his business partner, Grant, wanted it. But real estate was small. People talked, especially when you listened instead of trying to be heard. She traced her fingers along the sign page. They wanted her at dinner because they wanted something from her, something large. She didn't need confrontation. She needed clarity. Maya reread every clause and footnote, then slid the packet into her portfolio, pressing the cover flat. By 7:19 p.m., the office windows had turned navy. She reached for her coat, paused, then left it. She walked out with only the portfolio. Outside, her Honda waited faithfully under fading streetlights. She placed the portfolio on the passenger seat and sat behind the wheel. Traffic softened around her as she pulled onto the freeway, the city stretching ahead like a map she had lived inside for years. She drove past buildings she had renovated, corners where she had once stood waiting for buses because her family never picked her up, bridges she walked alone during winters when she had no heating. Each place whispered the same truth. Here's where they weren't. Here's where you learn to survive. The stitch seam brushed her fingertips. She didn't rehearse anything for dinner. Words had never worked on them. They talked over her apologies, past her boundaries, through every attempt she made to explain herself. So she had stopped trying. Tonight, she wouldn't bring anger or explanations. She would bring proof. When she turned onto her parents' street, every house looked like a well-behaved witness. Quiet, trimmed, obedient. Porch lights flickered on as the sun slipped behind the hill. She pulled into the driveway at 6:59 p.m. Her father would appreciate the punctuality. Through the dining room window, silhouettes moved, Lila leaning forward, Sam pacing. Her father opened the door before she could knock, standing like he was greeting a client rather than a daughter absent for months. "You're right on time," he said. No hug, no warmth, just approval for being punctual. The dining room was already staged. Lila sipped wine with perfect posture. Sam tapped his fingers restlessly. Grant straightened his tie. Her mother hovered, smiling too brightly. Maya sat in the only empty chair, the one intentionally left for her. Her father cleared his throat. "Let's get straight to it. We have an opportunity we want you to join. Grant leaned forward. A redevelopment in the warehouse district. Prime land. High value. Maya watched their eyes sharpen. Her father continued. We need capital to finish it. As a family partnership, we thought you could come in with funding. We'll guide the project. Everyone wins. Lila swirled her drink. Honestly, it's generous. Considering how new you are to all this. Sam snorted. Yeah, it'd be a good experience for you. Her mother touched her arm gently. Sweetheart, this is your chance to be part of something bigger than yourself. Their voices overlapped like static. Not a single apology. Not one acknowledgement of 8 months of silence. Just expectation. Just entitlement. Maya set her black portfolio on the table. The soft thud cut through the room. I did come for an important discussion, she said calmly. Just not yours. Her father frowned. Maya, we don't have time. She opened the portfolio. Documents glimmered under candlelight. Grant's eyes narrowed. Is that the commercial plaza? Maya nodded. The one every firm has been circling. Her father scoffed. It's not even available. Maya held his gaze. It was 4 months ago. She placed the signed acquisition papers on the table. Reflections of their stunned faces shimmered in the glossy pages. Lila stopped breathing. Sam pushed back in his chair. Grant reached for the papers with trembling fingers. You bought it, he whispered. Maya nodded. Which means your project has no anchor. No anchor means no funding, no approval, no investors. Her father's jaw tightened. Why would you do this? You knew we were targeting it. No, Maya corrected quietly. I knew the city was. And unlike you, I don't wait for opportunities to come to me. Her mother's voice cracked. Maya, we're supposed to be a family. Maya slid the documents back into her portfolio and closed it. A family shows up, she said. You skipped my graduation. You skipped my life. But you didn't skip the headlines. Silence fell heavy across the room. She rose slowly, adjusting her blazer. Dinner's yours, she said. But the future? That's mine. No one moved as she walked out. They simply sat there, silent, still, finally forced to listen. Outside, the night air bit through her blazer, sharp and honest. Maya paused on the porch, letting the house's warmth fade off her skin. She walked to her Honda, slid inside, and rested her hands on the steering wheel. Through the windshield, she saw shadows moving inside the dining room. Someone gesturing, someone sinking. She couldn't hear them. She didn't need to. Her phone buzzed softly. A message from her mother. We didn't know how to make things right. Please don't give up on us. Maya didn't open or delete it. She simply turned the phone face down and started the engine, letting the familiar streets pull her away. She drove past places soaked in old memories. The corner store where Lila once left her standing in the cold. The park where Sam bragged about never facing consequences. The steep hill she climbed alone at 16. Now everything looked smaller, like scenes from someone else's life. As downtown lights rose in white gold shimmer, her penthouse tower stood tall at the block's end. She parked, rode the elevator up and unlocked the door. The quiet inside felt different, earned, expansive. She set the portfolio on the kitchen island. The stitch seam caught the light. She traced it gently, remembering the cold night. She sewed it shut in a studio with no heat. Back then, silence felt like punishment. Tonight, it felt like clarity. She approached the floor-to-ceiling window, pressing her forehead to the cool glass. The city spread beneath her, honest and unjudging. For the first time in years, Maya felt no need to explain herself. She understood now. Silence isn't the wound. It's who breaks it. All her life, she saved seats for people who never showed up. Now she understood boundaries weren't cruelty, but oxygen. She turned off the lights and let the room fall into soft, deserved darkness.